Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Rios, District 1.
Present.
District 2, Councilman Pastor.
Present.
District 3, Councilman Latham.
Present.
District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 5, Councilwoman Giles.
Present.
District 6, Councilman Shipley is excused. Mayor Gameros.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Charlene, can you lead us in the invocation, please?
Lord, please guide us through our work this evening for our community and watch over all of our residents, our employees, and also our employees. In Jesus' name, amen.
Freddie, can you lead us in the?
Yes, sir, Mayor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin with a summary of current events. Mike, we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the, I believe it was the 3rd of this month, we went down to CAG Legislative Day. Quite a lot of good information. Councilman Latham was down there also. There's approximately about $1 billion in excess money down there at the state capitol. About 300 of it is 300 million's been identified for state programs, but there's 700 of it, 700 million for one-time funding available throughout the state for everybody. So there's a lot of people down there asking for monies, and I believe we've even asked for some too. So it was a pretty interesting meeting. There's talk of I think it was Senator Campbell is looking at possibly raising the gas tax, but that's not a very sure thing. But he wants to raise it up. I think it's 25 cents. I think, yeah. But
I think it was a compromise on 13.
yeah. Anyways, it's been several years since that's been raised, so there'll be some discussion, but they don't think it's going to pass. House Bill 2705 is. Which is a housing blight bill that we're looking at and supporting real strong. Looks pretty good. And also there's Arizona City and Leagues are really strongly pushing the firefighters' cancer benefit bill down there. So there's a lot of positive movement on that. But all in all, it was a pretty good day down there at the meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mike. Jesse?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to say how great this council chambers looks. I think that everybody involved did a great job. So I just want to make sure everybody gets the recognition that they deserve for that.
Where'd Richard go? Oh, there he is.
I also want to congratulate MLNH, the computer service downtown. They're going to be celebrating their 30th year of doing business in Globe. That's an amazing feat here. I was able to attend the library committee meeting, and in that meeting I was pleased to find out how much the library actually does with programming. It's awesome what they do. If you don't know or aren't aware, please go into the library and find out the programming. She holds programming every month. She does the whole schedule out for the month. It's on our webpage. It's amazing. So thank you, Adria. I also wanted to just let Public Works and the police department know I spoke with a gentleman this week who worked for the city of Scottsdale. He stated he ran in with both Public Works and the police department, and he was pleased. He said that the service that he got was, if not better than the service he got while he was working for the city of Scottsdale. So please relay that both to your staff. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Jesse. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. Really only have one thing. I was fortunate enough to spend some time at the old cemetery over the weekend, and we did a cleanup starting Saturday at 7 o'clock in the morning, and worked the first day until about 2, and then again on Sunday we were out there again at 7 o'clock and worked about 1:30. And between myself and Woody Klein, we've been setting this up for years, and I just want to let everybody know and thank everybody. I had over 50 volunteers that came out and helped between both days. And we started in the one section, I'm not sure which section it is, but it's down below the children's section on the north side of the cemetery. So we started at the road and worked our way all the way down to the ridge where there's an old fence down there. And I was surprised, what's down there. There's graves down there just with metal posts that are unmarked and everything. So our goal is to continue to do our cleanup and then beautify the cemetery as we go. So if we do, we're working with Joe Scammell and Leon Powers as well, who have mapped out the cemetery. And they have names possibly that we could redo those graves that are unmarked. And then again, just pulling cactus, weeds, tumbleweeds, you name it. So it's a really good weekend. So I'd just like to thank everybody that was involved in that. And we're going to do it again at the end of March. I don't have a specific date yet, but I'm hoping it'll be another Saturday, Sunday again in March, and maybe one more in April, May possibly. And then we'll see where we're at. If it's too hot during the summer, maybe we'll take the summer off and pick back up again in September. But I'm assuming this is going to take, everybody's been out there. They know what kind of condition is beautiful. We're just trying to make it more beautiful. Again, and working with John and his crew too to keep up the work and then see how it goes. And then we all came to a conclusion that, how on the highways there's an adopt a mile. So we came up with maybe an adopt a section of the old cemetery where groups can do that and go out there maybe once a month, weed eat, rake, or whatever they need to do. So, but it was a successful weekend. So thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's help. That's all I have in here.
Thank you, Mike. Freddie?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one thing. I want to echo the comments about the work that Public Works did here with this chambers. It looks really, really stunning to me. I purposely did not come to look at the construction at all in its phases. I wanted to see the end product, and I'm just amazed. Jerry, I know you have a team of players, and Paul and Shelley, I know you had a lot to do with having input in this, and I'm glad to see that you have a space there for yourself that yes, makes you presentable to everybody, and it was just great work. Really, it's really, really good work. Along with the IT that we have going now with the live streaming and things like that, we're really putting ourselves forward and showing that, as a community, we're transparent in the entire community and those that care to see what this city does. So congratulations to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Freddie. Shirley?
And thank you, Richard, because you were here almost every single day with your guys, and it shows. Thank you. I'd also like to thank the Historical Preservation Committee, because they now in the last couple of weeks have come together several times just very quickly when we needed a decision made very quickly, and that goes to what a small town can get done when it needs to get done. So thank you very much to them. There's just a few other things I want to mention about that library meeting. The Arizona Works is coming twice a month to help anybody that is job seeking, and so the next time, it was today, and so the next time will be Tuesday the 25th, and that will be from 2 to 4. You don't have to have an appointment. You just go, and the ladies there will help you with the computer and a resume and whatever it is you need. And then they're having a Valentine's dance this Friday. It's a family Valentine's dance at the library at 7 p.m. And we need to tell Evo happy birthday, because it's Canine Evo's 9th birthday today, this very day. And she has been with Fire Marshal Bracamani for 7 years. She's been his partner for 7 years. So happy birthday to Evo. Again, Public Works, the dog park is coming along nicely. Thanks for the work over there. I know you've been busy here and there and everywhere else, but you're still plugging along over there, so thank you. I know we as council remember this. I don't know how many in the audience even know about it, but the Humane Society has started a new feral cat spay and neuter program, and they had come before us several months ago and asked if we would kind of put a moratorium on the no feeding of feral cats until they got this whole program up and going. So in 2 months, in just 2 months, it's been a little over 2 months, they have spayed and neutered 88 feral cats from our downtown. 88. There's 888 more But by golly, they're working on, I mean, they're taking them 10, 11, the vet down there is doing them for $25 a piece, which is so reasonable. It's a really kind-hearted woman that understands the problems with these feral cats. So anybody that can donate to the Humane Society's feral cat problem, it's this whole community's problem, and it really will help. So 88 cats in a little over 2 months is awesome, and they're moving forward. They've got volunteers that go every single week down to the valley. So thank you so much to them. I attended the staircase meeting with John came and Fernando as well, Councilman Shipley as well came. That is a big project. That was identified in one of the town hall meetings as something we want to do as a economic development, tourism type. Maybe we could do walks, races, whatever, but the staircases all need work. So we actually have met several times and then went out the other day with Public Works to assess and what work actually needs done. So the next meeting, if anybody's interested in being on the staircase committee, and you don't have to formally be on the committee, you can just come help us weed eat and shovel and do whatever needs done. The next meeting will be next Wednesday, that's the 19th, and it'll be at 5:30 at the Chamber of Commerce. And the last thing I have is that Michelle, our code enforcement officer, she cites all kinds of people. But so some people that might think she wouldn't cite a city employee would be wrong, because she did. But there was a city employee that needed to get their house painted, and she got that done. So thank you, Michelle, for being impartial. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Shirley. I also want to comment on the chambers here. It looks amazing. It really does. It's been a long time coming. I want to also follow up and make sure that people know, and Charlene mentioned it, the dance for Friday at the library. I know, and Adria is really excited about this. They're going to have Hector, the DJ, there, because we had a meeting there this morning on census, and Adria is also planning some events for the future for census, and we really need to push that we get as many people to participate in the census, because it's money to our library, to our public safety, to our roads. We need to understand that census is very important. So thank you for that, Adria. On Friday afternoon, we got a call for a meeting to meet with Rusty Bowers, who's the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and he came to town on Saturday. So we had to sit down for an hour. He invited Mayor Daly, Mayor Bessage from Superior, and also the college. And some of the topics were economic development, infrastructure, housing was another subject that was talked about, water, and then blight. So they understand it, because we're going down there on Thursday, and we'll be presenting House Bill 2705 at the House. It has to do with blight, and there'll be numerous cities that are joining this effort, and we have support for it. So we're hoping that this is a big bill that goes through and helps us with some of these blighted buildings we have downtown that we really, our hands are tied, and they really paralyze us in economic development. So we'll be down there Thursday. And that's all I have, Paul.
I forgot something
Oh,
else.
go ahead.
Okay, so we had a retreat, and it was hours and hours, and I think the next time the council has a retreat, we should be having bean burrows. But aside from that, my takeaway really was that the departments are well-run. The city, all the department heads were there. We've got a good crew, we've got good workers, we've got good department heads. The city's moving forward, and I think all of us recognize that. But there is something I'm not in favor of that was discussed there. I think that we're a small community, and we can get things done. We can get things done very quickly and timely, and I don't want to lose that. I don't think we should be outsourcing zoning, permitting, inspections. That's just my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Paul?
Okay. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, again, the chambers do look fabulous. Very impressive. Thank you to Richard Thomas and Public Works for what they did in getting this done in a time pinch through that holiday season. It was a lot of coordination. It went well. Also, thank you to City Hall staff that helped do the color and the pick and the materials and stuff like that. My biggest part of that was staying out of the way.
and letting them do that. So it worked out really well. One of the things that we've been trying to do in the city is more outreach to small development projects and getting people in the door, educating, and we're working on documentation to make sure we can give people the information they need if they're trying to open a business here in Globe. And anybody who is thinking, you sparkle in your eye about doing something, starting a business, improving your business, moving your business, putting a sign up, anything like that. We now have the structures in place that we meet every Tuesday afternoon, and we can bring people in. One of the people we brought in today was Lois Menard, Menares. Let's see if I say that, don't butcher that. You know her from the trailer park, and she's working on her dream, 30-year dream of the mini golf over there. And we had some conversations about what she's trying to do and things like that. But in that process, she shared with me a letter she got February 10th from the American Small Business Association. I'm not sure what the acronym, but it's the American SBDC of Arizona. Did I say that right? Anyways, I'm going to read just the first paragraph of this. Dear Lois, on behalf of the entire America's SBDC Arizona Network, congratulations. You have been named a 2020 Success Award winner. The award honors not only your personal success, but also the positive impact you and your fellow winners have on your community, as well as Arizona's economy. And they're going to be honoring her on March 25th down at the Capitol at a lawn ceremony. So we heard about that in the meeting, and so we thought we'd share that with council. It's another success, and we're still working with her on getting everything going. On the community cleanup and all the stuff going on, just want to let council know on the meeting on the 25th, February 25th, we're going to have an updated presentation on the volunteer partnerships that are going on. We have the stairs, we have some of the family friendly stuff we're doing, possibly the bench, and I'm missing one, the
North Broad entrance.
what's that? North Broad, all of these projects that are on that list, there's about 7 of them. It's amazing. Oh, and the cemetery, that's the one I was thinking about and how we can help that. And so the point of that presentation is we're doing a research, we're talking to everybody and figure out what role can the city play in partnering with these volunteer groups that are pretty much this ad hoc unaffiliated group from the town halls, and just let council know where we are, and there may be some requests for some funds and some direction, but we'll bring that on the 25th. We'll have a lot more information on that. Let's see here. Danny, I'm sorry Danny's not here to make sure the technology runs right, but we sent him down to some training. He's actually, instead of hiring us a vendor to manage our network servers and some of the stuff that he's been doing, we are sending him the training so he can manage those network servers and some of that. So when possible, we will train in-house. And then the last thing, I did hear about Evo. I did hear he's in the drop program. And sorry. Oh, gosh. Joe's going to kill me. Anyway, but we may be posting that soon. No. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. So we have our first community call to the public, and this is a time any citizen desiring to speak on a matter that is not scheduled on this agenda may do so at this time. Comments will be addressed to the council as a whole public body. Council is prohibited from responding to any comments, but may direct staff to follow up. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and please complete a request to speak card, and they're located at the back of the chambers here. This is also a time that any citizen desiring to speak on a matter that is on the agenda may do so at this time and turn it into our clerk, and we can respond to you if it's on the agenda. Do you have any? Okay, we have. So we have special presentations. First on the agenda is, we're going to have that presentation first. Because I
Go ahead and read the opening.
I have former Mayor Stanley Gibson will present a short history of the Globe Council Chambers, and Public Works staff will present a project update. as the City of Globe Council hold their first meeting of 2020 in the newly remodeled council chambers.
We're flipping the order. We're going to start with Public Works, then we can go to Mayor Gibson.
So, Mayor and Council, let me push this back a little bit. Public Works wanted to thank you, one, for the cooperation of staying out of here until we could get the work done. Richard and his staff diligently worked to get this done. They thought they were ahead of schedule. And then Shelley, being Shelley, told us that she didn't like it, so we redid the whole front.
I don't believe that.
I'm teasing. But no, we decided that we liked what we did so well on the addition over here that we would carry it throughout the whole dais. And we still have some tweaking to do. And Richard has probably got a few days in here yet, but it was good enough tonight to present to you. And we also, Public Works wanted to make you a present of this new podium. And Marcia and I, my wife and I, we commissioned a local artist, Stephen Giles, to make the medallion for the front. And we thought you would enjoy that. So that's a gift from Public Works and from my wife and I. So
That is great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So very, very nice job. Make sure you tell Stephen what a
I
great
will,
job he
I
did.
will.
And the other thing is, we still have the mayor's photos and that to hang in the back, and we still have a lot of putting back. So,
Jerry.
so. But I wanted to go through, Richard, just the process that Richard came through. He was worried to death about finishing this on time, and he spent the extra time that it took, even on the weekends in here, to get this done. And then we threw more work on him, so he had to put more people in here. And I think at one time or another, we probably had 8 or 10 of our Public Works people in here, don't you think, Richard? And then the DOC workers as well. One of the DOC workers that Richard has is very talented with wood, and he made most of the trim here on the front to match, and actually made this for us too. And he and Richard made this. So anyway, I wanted to turn things over to Stan to talk about the council. But on behalf of Public Works, thank you for your cooperation and giving us the opportunity to do things for you.
Thank you.
Great work.
That's nice.
Well, Mayor and Council, it's a privilege to be here tonight, and the reason I'm here is that I made a mistake. At Rotary, I was talking to the city manager, and I said, I'd like to see how the work is progressing. He said, I'm going to invite you down, and that's why I'm here tonight. He also asked me if I could give some remarks in regards to the prior council meetings and where we met, and that was many, many years ago. And in order to keep this short, I'm going to do a little bit of reading here. And by the way, before I get into it, I'm really pleased at the way this looks, because for 30 years, why the city manager and the clerk sat down underneath where they had to get stiff necks looking at the council all the time. And so I think this is a great improvement for the city, and the council chambers really look great. And this medallion here in the front is really great also. So I think that's really outstanding. But anyhow, Paul asked me to give some backgrounds on the building of this city hall. And a little history first. I did a lot of kind of researching in my brain, and there was a lot of things that went on at council meetings that probably shouldn't be talked about anymore, because
Oh, that sounds interesting.
so anyhow, when I went in the council in 1960, we met over where the fire station is today, and that one building was also the office for the manager of the city, and the police station and the fire, and there was one bay for the fire station. And we met in the building, the part where the new bay is for the fire station over there. And we, every 2 weeks, they would bring in tables and sit down in the middle of the floor, and we'd sit around, and the audience would sit behind us. And if we felt somebody breathing down our neck in the wrong way, we knew how we should vote anyhow on something. But things have changed, and behind the city hall was the police station, was also the magistrate court, and behind that were 2 jail cells that kind of opened out into the walkway back behind there. And we talked about City Hall for many years of it, and of course, money was really short in those days, whereas the council got paid $20 a month, and the mayor got $40 a month for it. And sometimes we even thought we ought to kick that money back in so they could help balance the budget. But as time went on, the city was able to acquire what they called Public Works Reserve, which was part of the bookkeeping at that time. And they acquired about $200,000, and Ross Bittner was mayor at that time, and decided we ought to build a new city hall. Well, I was on the council then, but I moved out of my ward, and so I had to resign, so I wasn't on the council when they actually started building this building. But then later on, the person that represented the second ward resigned, and they reappointed me to that seat, so that was how I continued on. But prior to that time, this area had been the public works for the city, and it was full of lots of collections of stuff and one thing and another. And on the south side was an ice plant and a warehouse, and on the north side was the Ender's house. And some of the citizens decided to develop this into a park, and they named it the Veterans Park. And they poured the sidewalk and a slab where the city hall sits now, and planted trees on each side of it. And then the council decided that this is where they should build a city hall. And there was opposition from many groups on it, from some of the veteran groups and some of the other people that didn't want the trees cut down. So the next election that came up, that entire council was defeated with except one person that survived it. And so then the new council took over and built the building, and it's something that all of us in our area can be really proud of, because it's been a real attribute to our city to have something like this. And then after that election, Eugene Roboletti took over as mayor, and later on Ross was re-elected to the council. And so I spent the next 30 years of my life in this room, sitting where Al sits now, 10 years of it, and it was an enjoyable time. And that's kind of a short history, and I could have gone into a lot more detail, but I figured that was enough just to bring you up to date. So anyhow, I'm really pleased to see this, and this is something that our people in this community can really be proud of, is this city hall, and I think that the job that this current council is doing is terrific. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Gibson.
Mr. Mayor, it's so wonderful to have Stan here tonight, and you know, we catch up at our Rotary lunches, and sometimes he takes me to task on a couple things, but you know, the history and the knowledge and the wealth, and he is just a treasure to have here, and especially when, you know, we need the deep information. It's like, okay, tell me about this location. You know, there's so much there. So Stan and Janice, thank you so much for being here and sharing.
Yes.
So one time I asked Stanley, when I first came on council, I asked him for some information about, I don't even remember what now, but he said, oh, I have that in my file cabinet. And the next day, I had a photocopy of it.
Amazing. So next we have Zachary Larson from BHP Billiton. Will present an update regarding the tailings assessment of the Old Dominion Mine Park.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a minor correction. I'm Kevin Ramsey, and I'll be presenting today. So first of all, I'd like to extend my thanks for an opportunity to speak with you, and as well as members of the audience who are able to come out today and listen to our update about some of our work initiatives in the Globe Miami area. Specifically today, I'm going to talk to you all about BHP's legacy assets and our initiatives around tailings dam management. Don't know if, do I have control or?
You do. I may have to adjust the screen a little bit for you. I think the clicker's under
Excellent. Thank you.
And point it towards this computer, you should be okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So first of all, just to provide some context for a discussion around BHP's facilities in the area and our work, I just want to provide a little bit of context around tailings dams. And one of the first components and a key component about a tailings dam is the material tailings. So just from a very high level, tailings is the leftover crushed rock from a mining process after the minerals have been recovered. So with specific regard to the Globe Miami area, the tailings deposits that here are the leftover rocks after the copper and secondary gold, silver components were removed. Tailings dams are dams that are constructed to impound that tailings material. So they're a little bit different than some of the conventional dams that a lot of people have some familiarity with, like Roosevelt Dam, that are constructed to impound water, for hydroelectric or storage capacity purposes. In that, tailings dams are constructed over an operating mine life period. So typically, as the tailings are deposited, the tailings dam is raised as well in support of that. And specifically for the tailings facilities that we have here in the Globe Miami area, the tailings dam and the tailings are one and the same. The tailings dam is the entirety of that tailings storage facility. So BHP has a number of different tailings storage facilities in the region. We have 3 tailings storage facilities at Miami Unit. I know this image, it's hard for me to see, so I imagine further back is probably quite hard to distinguish, but from a general visibility perspective, the Miami Unit is over north of the town of Miami. We have 3 tailings facilities there. We have an additional 4 tailings storage facilities at Copper Cities. We have a tailings storage facility at Solitude, which is by the hospital. Some of the members of the public would know Blue Lake in behind there, but that large impound is one of our tailings storage facilities. And then we also have 3 tailings storage facilities at the Old Dominion area, so that encompasses the area where the old mine park is. To provide a little context to the discussion around tailings dams and in particular how dams are evaluated from a structural stability and safety perspective, just would like to provide a couple terms and some definitions around those terms. So one of the key components in assessing tailings storage facilities is classification. Now there's a few different tools that are used to classify tailings dams, but the international and gold standard that's used for tailings storage facilities is known as CDA, the Canadian Dam Association, which has adopted globally for tailings storage facilities as the highest accepted standard for the management and classification of tailings facilities. The first term that I'd just like to talk about is consequence. So consequence is a consideration of if a tailings storage facility, a tailings dam were to fail, what is the worst case thing that could result from that? So that's a consideration of people, environment, people, environment, economics, cultural significance, anything that could be impacted by that failure, but specifically considering the worst case failure. Consequence is a term that's arrived at independent of likelihood. So the consideration around consequence is not considering whether or not that's probable or if it has a high or low likelihood. It is only looking at what is the worst case scenario were that structure to fail. That pairs with the second key component then, which is likelihood. So in evaluating a tailings dam, the first component, consequence, is derived and assessed independently of likelihood. The second term, likelihood, is a probability that that structure will in fact have a failure. So likelihood is not considered in classification of a dam's consequence or a dam's consequence classification. And those two values, consequence and likelihood, are used together to arrive at a risk view of that dam. So we can take the consequence and we can take the likelihood, and then we can have an assessment that is more objective about what the risk value for that particular tailings dam looks like. So as I mentioned, BHP uses CDA. CDA is the assessment tool, the dam consequence classification tool that has internationally been adopted as the highest standard for tailings dam management. And one of the things that tool allows you, if you recall the discussion around consequence, it gives you a ranking system for tailings facilities based on the potential downstream impacts in a worst case failure scenario. That consequence classification may have dams being classified as significant, high, very high, extreme. And in our case, for the purpose of this presentation, we'd like to talk just about BHP's tailings storage dams that hit the two highest consequence categories, so very high and extreme. So BHP has a number in the Globe Miami area. They're all inactive, but I don't know if this table is visible at the back, but essentially we have in the Globe area itself around Copper Cities, we have a couple very high consequence classified dams. We have in Miami one extreme and one very high dam. Old Dominion, we have one tailings storage facility that meets the very high classification category. And Solitude, the Blue Lake facility, is also classified as very high. Also in Arizona, but not tied here, we also have some dams down in San Manuel that are classified as very high. So again, that's a classification that is not an assessment of the risk that those facilities pose. It's an assessment of what is the worst case downstream impact scenario ranked on those criteria of impacts to population, environment, economics, cultural significance, etc. So for BHP, that consequence classification is one part of a tool that we use to complete our risk management around tailings storage facilities. So BHP has, if you see in the visualization, essentially a constant review, revise, check, verify process for all of our tailings storage facilities. And that begins more specifically with having high integrity dams, high integrity storage facilities. And these high integrity storage facilities are assured through the process of having robust engineering and engineering reviews during the design phases, and then also the quality control during the construction of those facilities and the collection of complete as-built information. Now, in the instance where some of these facilities are historic constructs that maybe precede having all of the information that we have available, that's also supported in by the collection of information through intrusive and non-intrusive sampling and measuring programs on the facility, such as conducting drilling to confirm and build out an as-built for the facility post-construction. We also have an approach around dam governance. So that's a sort of collection of processes that we have in place to oversee and have clear lines of accountability and responsibility for the maintenance of those tailings dams. So there's quite a framework within BHP about people who are risk holders and accountability, and as well as people who are a second line of defense and verifiers to ensure that all of the appropriate actions around those facilities are being undertaken. We also then implement monitoring programs and surveillance programs, as well as the review of those monitoring and surveillance programs. So that is the physical verifications of the conditions in the field, inspections of the site, reviews of the data that's collected, and also review of the inspections that were performed by the primary inspectors, by a secondary and independent inspection group. And then ultimately, we also have a component that ties in with our emergency preparedness and response. And I believe some members of the council would be aware that we're in the process of coordinating a joint exercise coming up shortly, but there is generally an ongoing process where we're continually testing, revising, and updating our emergency preparedness documentation around our tailings storage facilities. So with that being said, I want to talk specifically about two projects that we have coming up in the Globe Miami area. We have some work that is planned around Miami Unit, and we also have some project that touches on Old Dominion. So briefly on Miami Avenue. Miami Avenue is a small tailings storage facility, and if you recall the slide, several slides back, where we talked about the consequence classification of BHP dams, this is the single dam that we have that meets the extreme consequence classification. This facility is a very small structure, and it sits up at the end of Miami Avenue. And we are right now in the process of advancing a number of our closure works in the area, and part of advancement of that closure work is going to consist of the relocation of the Miami Avenue tailings. So there will be a project in the area that is executed over the course of this year to remove, relocate, and deposit that tailings material into a confined basin further up onto our site from its current position. And the second piece is on Old Dominion Park. I think most people will be familiar with the park, either directly from having gone out and been involved with the park in some way, or just by virtue of being in the community. Old Dominion Park contains 3 tailings storage facilities, 3 tailings dams that BHP manages. And we are right now advancing a program around managing this dam, which would be classified as a very high risk, very high consequence facility, according to the CDA guidelines. And part of that is going to lead to the development of a final closure, a remediation for that particular facility. And in so doing, we are going to be shutting off part of the park that will be partially closed indefinitely until we can complete the final remediation of that site. I think on this slide here, you can have a view. There are three colors: the light green to the very north, the red in the center, and the yellow in the southern portion. Those are the 3 tailings storage facilities. And the blue zone is the area that we are going to be closing access to the public while we complete our final closure design planning, some of our investigations, and then subsequently our remedial works. So our plans right now are that the park will have signage installed and some fencing will be put up, notifying of such at the end of this month. So effective the end of February 29th, that section of the park will be closed to the public. we really also would like to note that we understand that for the community, the partial closure of that park does have implications for how it may impact the community. And we're community members here as well, and we really do understand that. So we would like to reiterate that we are committed to providing a couple things over the course of this upcoming work, and one of them is clear and accurate information about our work. So we will come back and update City Council and the public as our work around Old Dominion progresses, so that you guys are aware of where we're at in the process and where we're ending up for our final remediation strategies for the site. We also understand that we are taking away a section of recreational utility for the public, and we will be working with the city to develop some alternative recreational facilities. And on that, we do plan on having an announcement in the near future around some of the alternate facilities that we may be able to support that will offset some of the impacts from this particular closure. That's it. So I just open the floor if there's any questions.
I went on the tour, so I'm pretty up to date with where we're at.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Ready?
Yeah, thank you. So I apologize, I missed the tour, but has BHP already identified the amount of property that will be impacted by your process?
Yes, that is correct. We have a clear boundary set. If I redress the slide, or if you're able to see, I don't know if you have a copy of the PowerPoint. Right. What's highlighted in blue there, that is unfortunately a little bit hard to see, but that is an overlay of the section that will be removed. So that keeps the main plaza area and the playground area in the front, but it does remove access to the majority of the disc golf section and the wide loop trail that used to go around the back end of our tailing storage facility.
And is a follow-up, is the anticipation that this loss will be a permanent loss for our park?
At this point, we wouldn't be able to answer that. Our intention is to complete final and complete remediation at that site, and that may involve additional construction in the area, or that may involve significant relocation, removal of material from that area. And so at this point, there will certainly be a period of several years where that section of the park is not available to the public.
Okay, well, you answered my last question, how long we're looking at, so. Thank you.
I had a couple of questions on the Miami site. Is for removal of that tailings, are you going to do the wash and pump? Is that what it is? You wash it down, you're not actually hauling it off?
Yeah.
You relocate it, you wash it down and pump it? Is that what you're doing?
It's a bit of a hybrid from truck and shovel method and that hydraulic monitor method that maybe a lot of people are familiar with from when we did the Miami No. 2 tailings. We will be slurrying it, but rather than removing it from its current emplacement by hydraulic monitors, which are basically fire hoses that spray in at the material, we'll be excavating it with a shovel, putting it into a screening plant, and then through the screening plant, it then will be deposited into a slurry box, basically, and flow by gravity from there down into the final deposit location.
And I understand public safety is a priority, and you know, with the ratings that were on these tailings dam, and we're really glad that you're transparent as to what's going on or continue going on, and working with us as a city and community. I mean, I understand that because you're taking a portion away, that doesn't mean we're going to lose it totally. We'll be able to develop another area on there. And I know a group like Thea and her group have worked really hard up there, raising money and stuff. So we're willing to work. I know the agreements between the city and BHP, but the groups that put their many years of volunteering up there is important. So, but you guys are willing to work with us to be able to continue that park in various locations up there then, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that comment. I would say we're more than just willing to. We're really keen to. We we have two of the three of us who are here live in this community as well, and you know, all of our base team who operate here are also community members, and it's a really important core value for our company, top to bottom, that we're good partners with our community. So we're very keen to work with and try and find good alternatives.
Ernie?
So BHP has always been a very good community partner, and you certainly all have worked very well with the Mine Park Committee, and we don't expect anything other than that in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
During that tour, Bruce was there with representing the Dominion people, and his concern and our concern too was that the back trail to the derrick up there, the structure is the back way there, and Zach and had told Bruce that there was probably plans to allow opening up the other side of the mountain, the other side of the hill there, Bruce. Wasn't that what?
Yeah, we've been talking.
Okay.
About that even tonight, and actually talking about hiking these proposed trails
Sure.
with them and seeing if that's a possibility.
Great.
Yeah, we would, at this point, we haven't set any specific plans for some of the alternate trail routing, but it absolutely is our intention to have a direct dialogue with the city and the Old Dominion Park Committee to explore what are some of the straightforward and logical next steps in terms of recreational opportunities.
Good.
Well, we thank you for your, being transparent and talking to us and and we look forward to being a good community partner with BHP.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you very much for the opportunity. I also would just like to note this is my first time in the building, and what a great job your team must have done to put it together. It looks fantastic.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Linda Donato will present the City of Globe 11 department update in 11 minutes for economic development.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I too must echo that this is amazing, and we've been in several different council chambers, and I think ours is definitely up towards the top. So 11 minutes, this has got to go fast. When we were doing our SAP update, I had a question, what is economic development? Because to some, it's new businesses coming into our downtown. To others, it's growing the pie so that Dale can get some new police cars, so that Gary can have a garage where he can put his fire truck, and so that we have a roof to pay for at Besh, and a library. We have a solar project we want to talk about soon. So let's just talk about the definition. Oh, Shelley, you have to
Hit
hit the arrow. Cool, thank you. Okay, so the definition is, in the public sector term, it is the process by which the economic well-being and quality of life of a community are improved according to targeted goals and objectives. And there we go. Thank you, Shelley. Okay, there we go. And so all of the work that we've been doing the last 2 years really come under four pillars, and that is strategic planning, BEAR, which is business expansion, attraction, and retention, marketing, which I'll talk to in just a moment, which we've identified as two different types of marketing for our concern, and then community development. So really for the past 2 years, we have been creating a brand new ecosystem for economic prosperity for our community, from small business creation to the improvement of policies and procedures here at the city to encourage economic success for our community. We have been utilizing best practices that we have been exposed to and received training from RCAC, which we have received a 3-year economic development capacity building grant from. That's Rural Communities Assistance Corporation, and also from AAED, which I'm a member of, and that's Arizona Association of Economic Development. And in this spring conference, I will be receiving my AZED Pro certification, as will Brian Seppala from Resolution Copper. And so we actually have been building an economic development team here with Brian from Resolution, with Robin Bradford from Freeport-McMoRan, who's also been going through these trainings with us. So we have a good core team that we have been building here. Okay, with our strategic planning, so what gets measured gets done. And for the last year, we have been working our strategic action plan here at the City of Globe that we went through probably a 6-month process to develop in last year. And this past January, we did an update, and we assessed where we were, where we may need to pivot and redirect, because maybe we don't have the resources, maybe there's another community priority that's become more important. So this is a plan that's fluid. It's not. It's something that's going to continually evolve. And we've been doing the same thing at our regional EDC, the Southern Gila County EDC, that I offer administrative support to, that has members from, it's a cross-sector group that is Hayden Winkelman, Globe Miami, and in between. And we do work closely with the town of Superior. And we recently have gone through a strategic action plan update. And we've also been doing this with Gila County in that we are partners on the READY grant opportunity, which is a regional economic development assessment of our community, taking into account what does our SAP plan look like here at the city? What is our SAP plan at the EDC, and also with the county, and to make sure that all of our strategies and our goals are in alignment, because we do have limited resources, those being funding, but also being manpower. And so if we identify what is most important to our community and what is the most impactful, then we can best allocate those resources to those projects or programs. The next pillar under our development department is BEAR. It's the Business Expansion, Attraction, and Retention programs that we do have. And pictured there is our future business incubator, co-working space, and downtown visitor center, and what right now is known as the Michelson Building. And in this space, we'll be offering all the programs that we have started in the last 2 years, and we'll have the space, everything will have a centralized access space. And so we will be offering our Start, Grow, and Revive program. In fact, we'll be rolling that out in April again. We had our first cohort last year. We had 12 new business startups that participated, and 2 right now are actually in the financing stage. And so that is very exciting for our program. We just received training on a brand new tool from RCAC, and it's called the Initiate platform. And this is a resource that is accessible by home-based businesses, by existing businesses, people who are just maybe thinking about starting a new business, and you can access this from home. It's a free tool. You can hop in and out of it. I can allow you access. We sign you up like a membership, and then it helps you through the business development plan phase, and then you move into market testing. If you are maybe wanting to do a feasibility study and thinking that maybe is your business right to open now? Is your product ready to go to market? And this tool will be rolling out with the Start, Grow, and Revive program. Another new program that's really exciting for us to offer through this space is the Co-Starters program. And I think some of us have been in the Kickstart meeting. I know Charlene was with Enoch Elwell, and he's the founder of Co-Starters. And this is a global program, and there's only one other community in Arizona that is currently utilizing it. He is in almost 1,000 communities worldwide. And this is, again, another tool for us to offer startup businesses, but also our existing businesses, because business retention is really our focus right now. We don't want to lose any of our longstanding businesses. Some are struggling because they're going through generational turnover. They're needing to maybe diversify their merchandising, or maybe they want to take a little different direction than what they currently have, but they still have the space in which to do it. So this is a program that they can receive all of the resources that are needed to take a look at their financials, their marketing plan, to help them develop a brand new business plan, and we can help them do that. Something brand new that we are actually, I will be back February 25th to present on this. We would like to apply for the Freeport Community Investment Fund grant to roll out a new program that we will be partnering with the EDC and the Chamber on, and this is the Main Street Makeover Program. So I'm sure a lot of people saw the contest that was on HGTV, the hometown makeover. Well, we can do that. We can definitely scale that down and utilize the resources and tools that we have in-house, not just in-house, but within our community, with the Chamber, with the town of Miami, now that the town has a new community development person, which is really exciting to add another person to our team. And we will be helping businesses to maybe redo their storefront, redo their interior, with maybe they just need some ideas on how to better display their merchandise, redo their windows display. And when I say, maybe all of this, it could be any of this or it could be all of this. We're really going to be working side by side with the business owners to see what best fits them. And I'll bring that back with more detail. I don't want to steal our own thunder. The next pillar is marketing. And with that, there's two different ways that we're approaching this. Economic development marketing our community is that we are business friendly, we're business forward, we're ready for you to come and open your business in our community, and that we are partners in development. And right now in-house we're polishing our policies and our procedures so that, and Paul had gone over that earlier, so that when you come to the city and you're ready to open a bit, or maybe you're just thinking, that we will help you along the way so that there's no roadblocks in your development. We don't want to be a barrier to you putting that open for business sign up. The other side of that is destination and tourism marketing. It's very different than economic development marketing. And we went through our branding process, and now we're ready to roll out a fully integrated marketing plan. We do have a budget for that this year. We are working with the Chamber of Commerce, and also the Historical Society has reached out. Sheldon Miller is their executive director. He's the former director for the Globe Miami Chamber of Commerce, and he has a lot of ideas. So we're almost finished with our scope, and when we went through the budget process and we were successful in having a marketing budget, we thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We're going to be able to just, plaster every billboard in Arizona. Well, that's really not the case, because billboards are very expensive. And so we're finding is that we're needing to really focus on, one, what is free, what is low cost, partnering with all of our stakeholders that are also interested in doing destination marketing, and working with them better in that way. And finally, community development. These are a few projects that have been possible only because we have been working with our community partners, that we have repaired bridges, built new bridges, and really are working more regionally and collaboratively than we ever have before. We are just kickstarting our regional housing study, which includes Globe Miami and everything in between, and with the ultimate goal of increasing our housing stock across all market segments. The community center pool assessment, this is in partnership with Freeport-McMoRan to see is this a viable project? And so very exciting that Freeport was able to come to the table and assist us in that way. And I think what I'm seeing is the number one project that is really A great example of collaboration is the Michelson Project. And this is in partnership with Gila County, who has provided us the space. And last year we received $150,000 from Freeport's Community Investment Fund. Gila County matched, and the City of Globe, we came forward with $25,000. And this is my surprise, Paul. I'm so excited to announce this. I've been sitting on this since Friday. We just received an additional $25,000 from Capstone Pinot Valley towards this project. They want to be an active partner and stakeholder in the economic development of our community, and so we're very, very happy to announce that. So
There you go.
we'll be talking soon. So thank you. I'll be calling you, Kevin and Sarah and Brian. You don't want to miss that on the party. Okay, so again, for the last 2 years, good seeds have been planted for great things to grow. And I think we have nowhere to go from here but up in hand with our partners in the community, because again, we couldn't do this all by ourselves. And I missed this point. So back in November, we increased the capacity of our economic development department because we were able to add a specialist to our team. And she's been an amazing asset. This is her 8th week with us. And unfortunately, she couldn't be here today. She had a little medical thing with her daughter. So we will have her come back, and she's going to be presenting on a project that she is working on, and that's the Globe Clean and Beautiful project that we'll be talking about tomorrow at our EDC meeting. So thank you, and I'm excited to move forward. Do you have any questions or comments?
I can.
Yes.
Thank you for this update. I think that economic development, you're doing a great job in everything that you're doing, and making sure that the community is aware of what you're doing, being transparent, I think is key to growing it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Shirley?
So I was the one that asked the question and said, please explain to the community, because there's a lot of folks that don't know, really don't even know what does that mean, economic development, what does that mean?
It's a buzzword.
Right, and they don't really know what you do, and they are asking a lot of questions, and this answered a lot of questions, and it needed to be. I mean, people need to understand what we're doing and why we're doing, and the results might not be today, tomorrow, or even next year. It might be 5 years, it might be 10 years down the road, but we've started. So awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to echo that, is that we got to be patient, and we got to be committed to what we've started already as a council, as a city, and move forward, because we'll see the returns in the future. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Chief Walters and Museum Manager Leanna McGill will present council with options for the City of Globe Employee and Family Appreciation Party as discussed in the council retreat.
Good evening to Mayor and Council. I appreciate you saving the best for last. We had historic Mayor Gibson here, safety and welfare from BHP, great economic development from Linda, but we are at the pinnacle of importance right now. This is what we discussed in the retreat concerning the Globe Employee and Family Appreciation Party. And so what we're looking for tonight is some guidance from Mayor and Council. Leanna and I have met a couple of different times concerning this. We've picked a location and a date subject to your approval. We would like to do it up by Besh at the park, across the parking lot there. And the date that we're tentatively looking at is May 9th.
That's what we're looking at. Is that Saturday or Sunday?
It's a Saturday. It's the week after the Cinco de Mayo celebration downtown. And we're still working on to present costs and things for you. Leanna's been doing a bunch of work. I'll let her talk about the bouncy house and some of the challenges we're having with that.
Okay. Yeah, we were thinking May 9th, like he said, after Cinco, before graduation, and before it gets really hot, because this is going to be an outdoor event, if that's where we choose to hold it, in the park there. Like you all had mentioned at the council retreat, we wanted it to be a family-friendly type event. So we were thinking some bounce houses, that sort of thing. Having a little bit of trouble locally getting some response for that, but we're working on it. So we'll get some costs for you.
What about splash pad?
That's something we could look into. Yeah. Really, we're kind of wanting some direction from council. This was something that council thought would be important. So we're throwing out the location, the date, and really kind of wanting some guidance from council, because this is your direction for us to host this. We're just you're doing your bidding.
So a couple of things concerning the party. It's really important for us to try to set this up with as much minimal impact on our employees as possible. I've had a brief discussions with John where there are some things that we will have to get through Public Works, but the goal is to use police explorers, and we're going to try to recruit some of the junior ROTC troops to help for setup, help monitor some of this stuff, and then it would be like command staff and council that would be dealing with the food and all the things that we're doing. Concerning food, we've talked about it. For us, we're recommending like burgers and brats.
Easy. Easy.
Easy cleanup, easy setup. And Susie and I would be more than happy to donate the beef for this. It's not as cool as that, but it's very well done, Jerry and Richard. But the idea is I've done this in the past, and we would be happy to do that, but it's really, we just need some clear direction on where you are all at.
Okay, clear direction, you got it, pal. First of all, thank you very much for you two teaming up and doing this, because this has just been a passion of mine for years, and I want to see this happening, and thank you for doing this. Secondly, we'll bring our grill that can cook 100 brats, and we'll just cook them all day long. Thirdly, I think we give you a nice budget. We have 105 employees that work diligently every day, and some of them are in the line of they might not make it home that night in your profession. Some of them deal with the public every day and the bathrooms that the public use every day in your line. You know, then we have Public Works that's out there chipping and sealing and crack sealing and in all manners of heat and cold and what have you. Our employees deserve this. They deserve as much as we can give, and I want that to be a high number. So how do we make that happen, Mr. Manager? We need to make this happen. Thank you for doing this. This is, I asked for this, and thank you. I'm amazed. This is great that already we have this kind of work towards this.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Giles, we're coming back with a number in 2 weeks. We wanted to see the parameters, see where you guys are at, and so unless there's a major change or anything like that, and you know, if you you know, we'll come back with some hard numbers at that volunteer presentation. So, but we wanted to see kind of what the parameters were before we gave you prices.
Yeah. I got to tell you too, I've talked to a few council members about this, and nobody, everybody has said, yes, we will do this. We don't want our employees to come to a party and have to cook or have to clean up or have to put out tables and chairs or whatever. We want them to bring their families and just enjoy the day. So if it takes all of us and whoever else you want me to go round up off the street, I will.
There's one other thing. One of the recommendations that we're making is that for each of the directors, they put together a basket for drawings, and for each of the
from their departments,
and then from each of the districts, from each of council and your district, put together an individual basket from the mayor and then District 1 and so on and so forth. So we have something for the employees. They can and we can do drawings and stuff for them.
Great idea.
Yep.
Chief Leanna, thank you very much for doing that research. I think as a full council, as a total council, we really want this to happen. We want to make sure that our employees understand that we appreciate them as a full council. I think we don't use this venue to actually give you ideas, but if we can contact you with our ideas late, during the week, and maybe trade some ideas with you guys.
Absolutely, and we have, and we'll bring it back to council with everybody's idea and potential costs on the 25th.
So you're gonna provide all the beef, I'll buy all the brats and the buns.
Okay.
What are you bringing? What are you bringing? Come on now. We're all in public here.
I'll start with my family.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you
We'll
so
contact you in the next week or two. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have consent calendar. Matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk. Prior to consideration of the consent agenda, the mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and/or staff may remove any item for separate consideration. Item A, consideration of waiver of section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. Accounts payable, $641,561.78. Consideration of approval of council minutes. Consideration of October 22nd meeting minutes. Considerations of January 16th, 2020 town hall meeting minutes. Considerations of January 27th, 2020 council strategic retreat minutes. Consideration of January 9th, 2020 historic preservation meeting minutes. Consideration of February 4th, 2020 Historic Preservation Advisory Commission meeting minutes. Consideration of agreements and purchases of less than $25,000. Discussion and consideration of current building permits. Consideration of fleet report. Consideration to accept a 10-foot waterline easement off of Euclid Avenue described as portion of lot number 23 of lot map of North Globe, Arizona, recorded as plat number 9 GCR, section 26, township 1 north, range 15 east of the Gila and Salt River base and Meridian, city of Globe, Arizona. Consideration of the Arizona Department of Liquor application for special event license for the Globe Rotary Club Foundation Incorporated for the annual casino night that will be held at the Cobra Valley Center for the Arts located at 101 Broad Street, Globe, on February 29, 2020. Consideration of the Arizona Department of Liquor license application for extension of premises for the 12th annual Globestock celebration at the Huddle located at 414 North 2nd Street, Globe, February 27, 2020 through March 1st, 2020. Consideration for approval of the recommendation of the Historic Preservation Advisory Commission for the Splash of Copper Art Gallery sign located on Broad Street. And consideration to authorize Mayor Gameros to sign all necessary preparatory documents as mayor or on behalf of the council for the CU Monday annexation initiated by council at the January 15, 2020 council meeting. Do we have anybody in the audience, staff, or council that wishes to remove any of these items?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to ask that I be moved, and I can speak to that directly after you approve the consent.
So moved.
No other removals?
Not for me.
Do we have a motion?
Motion and second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda minus I. Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. So we have item I, Paul.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I wanted to pull this off just to give a little bit of an explanation. A month ago when we met at the Gila County Courthouse, and thanks again to the county for hosting us and that when we got this council chamber spiffied up, the CU Monday annexation, which is what we are now officially calling that, with the City of Globe has contacted with S&S Consulting, which is Steve and Mary Lou Stratton, to manage this annexation and future annexations. And so I think that's real important that we focus like a laser on hitting the deadlines, hitting the publications. We can do that in-house, but I think on these, given what we hope to be a pattern, that it's easier to make sure these things go well. One of the things that Steve and Mary Lou had suggested is to, because we're hearing from CU Monday that they want to do this in a timely fashion. We have a very aggressive timeline on this. In order to meet that timeline, there's certain things that need to be signed. If we need to get them signed, we need to go and have the council approve the signature by the mayor. By pre-approving the mayor to sign what's necessary, we save that time. The other thing that Steve and Mary Lou are trying to make sure is that these are locked down and tight annexations. That there's one of the few ways that an annexation can be derailed is by any type of legal challenge, and making sure that everything is exact. And let's say that we were kind of in a rush, and so the mayor signed and then we ratified that signature, which we've done before, and usually we know that it's okay because council's there. That could be a hang up for maybe a court challenge in the future. I don't think there's anything like that on this one, but the one thing that they're doing is looking out for our interests, that there's no nuances, there's no anything that could be used to make any type of court challenge if in the future there was one. And I think Steve and Mary Lou are treating this as what would it be? Going the extra distance to make sure that they're locked, they're tight, they're proper, they're legal, and they're going to withhold any type of challenge, whether it's potential or not. And so, anyway, I just wanted to ask council to approve this. This does not need to have the rule waived because this annexation is ongoing. We've talked about before. We'll be coming back. And Steve and Mary Lou are in the audience in case you had any questions. But this is kind of just a paperwork issue. But I just wanted to speak to that. And if any questions.
Questions?
I'm okay.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion for approval for authorization?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second for approval of item I. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And going back before we move on, we already approved the consent agenda, but Vice Mayor Stapleton has told me there's an error on the address is it the Huddle, you said?
Yeah, Councilman Latham pointed it out to me.
Or
that
letter G, you have the mailing address listed?
It's 392.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
And we also have the representation from CU Monday group, so.
Oh, I didn't see them there.
392.
They are there.
392. Here.
So we have new business. Consideration of council to approve resolution number 1804, updating financial disclosure statement requirements pursuant ARS 38-545 and request to waive City Code 2-4-10A prior discussion rule. Shelley. And can you read resolution 1804?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 1804, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Globe, Gila County, Arizona, prescribing standards of financial disclosure for local elected officials. Is council pleased with that reading?
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This resolution tonight will update our reporting standards at the city to comply with state law. So updates were made to the financial disclosure in 2016, and this is just a little housekeeping item that will bring our standards to match the form that's currently being used and filed. Does council have any questions?
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Mike?
Shelley, do our packets, our current packets, are they up to date then, or will they have to?
Yes, the information that's been handed out to elected officials and candidates are up to date.
Okay.
We just need the resolution on file that updates our standards. There were some changes made to the form and definitions used, and we just didn't get them adopted in 2016.
Ready?
Just to follow up on that, so there was a hard copy packet and then there was a electronic version. They're one and the same?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
With that,
Other
Mr.
question?
Mayor, I'd make a motion to accept the resolution as presented
And waive the rules.
and waive the rule. Well, I thought we didn't.
Second.
We have motion and second for approval of item A. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Item B, consideration of council to approve resolution number 1805, calling the August 4, 2020 primary election for the for the purpose of nominating candidates for the seats of mayor and districts 1, 2, 5, and ballot question for the alternative expenditure limitation home rule option. Shelley, and could you read resolution 1805?
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 1805, a resolution of the Mayor and Council of the City of Globe, County of Gila, State of Arizona, designating election dates and purpose of election, designating the deadline for voter registration, designating the place and the last date for candidates to file nomination papers. Is council pleased with the reading?
Yes.
And Mr. Mayor, would you like to read the second?
Oh, he wants to in
Yes,
Spanish. He
yes.
does.
I think it's important.
Well, come on.
I thought Shelley was gonna do that for me. No?
Give it a whirl.
If anybody didn't understand it in English, I'll read it in Spanish, but.
Remember, they're out there and watching on YouTube. So.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't understand it.
No. Questions for Shelley? Oh,
Do it. Come on. You practiced?
It's your choice, Mayor. It is printed, and it is available online, so it's your call.
that'd be a tough one.
No, then, and just for anybody out there, if anybody has any questions about any of this, Shelley is always available to help, and we have the ability to offer bilingual services if anybody has any questions. We'll leave it at that. So thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, for the record, I would like to just point out the primary election date being August the 4th, 2020. And packets can be filed in the clerk's office beginning March 9th, and the last date of file is 5 p.m. on April the 6th. So, and packets are now available.
Yeah. And when do they can start getting signatures now?
Once the packet is picked up, they have to file a statement of interest with the clerk's office, and then they're free to start collecting their signatures.
Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor, if there's no other question or comments, I motion to approve the first reading of resolution 1805.
Now, is this a move forward for the next meeting? Okay, so we have a motion, a second to move this item forward to the next meeting. Is there any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you, Shelley. Item C, ratification of letter requesting the United States Army Corps of Engineers to investigate the McCormick Wash Tunnel located within the City of Globe under the Continuing Authorities Program, Section 205 of the 1948 Flood Control Act. Jerry.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, a lot of people don't know it, but we have about a 750-foot tunnel on the north side of Globe in the McCormick's Creek area. We also have a diversion dam up there that diverts the water from going downtown Globe to out towards the High Street Bridge out in that creek out in there in McCormick's Creek. Well, the tunnel is starting to deteriorate. So if it comes down, guess what? You know, the water comes down through the town again. So we are looking to the Army Corps of Engineers for funding and for feasibility to find out what we need to do with the tunnel to preserve it. We have had a deadline that we needed to get a letter in by to apply for feasibility funds for them to come out and say, yes, you have a good project. We will put you in for a grant. And then we would come back to council for that. But the feasibility study is $100,000. It has a zero match from the city. and we sent the letter off. So hopefully we'll get some good news. But this item is to ratify the mayor signing that letter and sending it into the Army Corps of Engineers because of the deadline.
And am I correct in assuming they've already come and looked at the,
They have, and they thought it was a good project. We've been sending the letter back and forth, and they've been tweaking it for us, and so we have positive vibes from it. So we really think that it may never collapse in my tenure, but in order to get it fixed, we need to start on it now.
Charlie?
So first of all, thank you for pursuing this because we do not want it to collapse, and it's going to happen at some point. So thank you for.
It's kind of a neat tunnel if you haven't been up there.
It is, but it also has a purpose that saves our downtown, and we need to preserve that. So thank you for going after this.
If any council hasn't had the opportunity to take the tour of this tunnel, I would ask you to do it. I got to do it 5 years ago with former city manager
Billingsley?
Brent. Yeah, and we did it with, and Jerry went in there.
Yeah.
It's pretty challenging. We went all the way through it, and it was, our lights kept going off. We had our cell phones. We should have taken better equipment with us, but.
You'd think a firefighter would be prepared, but we're asking that council approve this ratification tonight, so I guess you'd have to waive the rules.
So moved and waive the rules.
Second.
And Mr. Mayor, before we vote, the PowerPoint in the packet that we put was actually put together by Brian Kenny, who is a civilian working U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. When we met with him and we were given, we had been looking at this and also had been working with the county a little bit on this. He said we caught the timing really well, and it'll be his job to advocate for this funding in his process internally for federal funding. They'll do the study, they'll spend up $100,000, and then we have a no or don't go or no go decision we'll have as to whether it reaches the levels. There's a lot that goes into this. In the long run, there may be some match that is important, and we may look for some partnerships to do this. But this is on the strategic action plan to look at this. The core of the right people that have the resources and knowledge to do this, and you will be seeing this back one way or another. So so we're real excited to find out what is happening and where we're at, and with our partners with the federal government. So thank you.
And Paul, I think the challenge on this project is the access to it too, because you got to hike quite a way just to get to the tunnel. So just to do the project is going to be difficult because of the distance from a roadway.
Well, and it's there's a lot there. They were pretty impressed at some of the engineering and the basicness of this structure. It's a 100-year-plus old structure. But this goes to the heart of what the Corps of Engineers does, which is to manage flood control and these types of projects. So I think they're all going to get real excited about doing it.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah, many millions of dollars.
Yes.
So we have, do we get a motion to ratify the letter and waive the rules?
There's a motion and a second.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Next, we have discussion and consideration of license agreements between the City of Globe and Zayo Group LLC for the use of the city right-of-ways for fiber optic cable. Chris.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. What we're bringing here is a license agreement that allows Zayo Company to run fiber optics through the city right-of-ways to feed the Globe Unified School District with fiber optic cable. I believe we have a Zayo person in the audience back here to answer any questions about the system itself. But in order for Zayo to get their fiber to the schools, they have to use our right-of-way, and so we have put together this agreement that allows this to happen.
Is this going to extend beyond the schools that we could take advantage of it to other areas of our city, or is it just mainly to the school system?
If you want to come
You
up.
come-
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Matthew Burke. I'm with Zale, construction manager. We specialize in delivering fiber optics to large, to school districts, large businesses. And to answer your question, yes, there would be available fibers. Our current plan is to deliver to 5 school locations: the Bus Bay, Copper Canyon, the school way out there. I can't remember the name of it. Deserts, but there's 5 locations, and we intend to put a 144 count fiber optic cable, backbone cable. And I have not examined the actual license agreement that we presented, that our legal department has, but I believe there is a section in there that part of that agreement is to deliver conduit to the fire department and the police department, and to.
It's from the combination building, fire and police department, over to City Hall.
Great, thank you, Chris, thank you. Yes, sir. So to answer your question, yes, sir, there would be available fiber for other opportunities.
So you're going to install just conduit from the police station to here, or are you going to install the fiber cable also?
Fiber cable also, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I hope, and I'm sure they have, Chris and the city manager have discussed the new no-cut policy that will be going in effect.
It is in effect.
March 1st?
Excuse me, Councilman Pastor, this was, the no-cut policy was, we made sure, speaking with, when we put together this with Bill Sams, our city attorney, that we made sure that the language in there did cover that.
Okay, so he's aware of the no-cut policy and.
Right, I think it was part of the utility meetings that Public Works is putting together now with all the utility companies who introduced the no-cut policy. Also invited Zayo to the table to learn about this.
Okay, so you've looked at it all too, Jerry? Okay, good, thank you.
You mentioned the bus barn. How would you make access to the bus barn? Would that be?
That is designed to attach to existing APS poles. We have it designed, and we have submitted preliminary prints to the city for review for permitting. Obviously, we can't have our permits until the license agreement is completed, but the proposed route consists of approximately 26,000 feet of aerial construction on existing APS poles and approximately 7,000 feet of underground construction.
Okay.
The majority of that 7,000 feet would be from the Highway 70 out to that school, the Desert. High Desert School. That's approximately 6,000 feet of underground construction just there.
So you're going to run it off APS poles all throughout the community and here also?
Yes, sir.
For the
main hub is at the main hub is considered the school that's kitty corner from the Globe High School.
Right.
And from that point, we'd go to the Globe High School, to the bus bay, to the bus barn, to, is it Copper Canyon?
Copper,
Rim.
Copper Rim.
Copper Ridge, and then out to the fire school out there.
Okay, cool. Good deal.
So do we have a motion to move this to the next meeting?
Motion ready.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to move this item to the next meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have discussion and consideration of a letter supporting House Bill 2705 vacant abandoned buildings ordinance addressing issues of vacant commercial buildings in Arizona. Staff is requesting council to waive 2-4-10A prior discussion rule in order to get the letter to the Arizona Speaker of the House. Paul.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this item is also on the strategic action plan for this council. We know, the community is built off of the businesses downtown that contribute. A vacant or abandoned building does not contribute and actually uses more services, than those that they're active. It's been a goal to try to find a way to eliminate that inequality between those active business owners who are paying taxes, putting the power on and the lights and bringing business here. This is something that arose out of a member of the Copper Corridor communities and getting with the League. The League of Cities is supporting this, and this would be, again, House Bill 2705. What this does in a nutshell, it's a longer bill. I put a lot of information in your packet, but what it does is, first, it allows us to identify those building owners. Sometimes we know who they are, and sometimes it's hard to track down. Sometimes they're family members and the ownership is there. It's hard to hold building owners accountable for it if it's not clear as to who is the owner. Who is legally responsible. It allows us, for those that are, for those people who are out of compliance, and the registration is for those people who are not keeping up with their duty, not keeping up with the code, not keeping the building in proper shape, that we can register them and charge a registration fee to those people. And it gets into, there's still, how we interpret that registration fee is something that I believe that, as the bill is written, the cities will have control as to what fits into the neighborhood, as to figuring that out. I think the foundational idea is, for those that contribute and those that don't, that registration fee should probably match to help make up that difference in those services provided, and have a nexus. But we're not trying to get a pound. We're trying to make them carry their weight. And this is a way we can do that with that registration fee. It requires those building owners to be good community neighbors by maintaining insurance coverage on their building. So if something that they do causes other harm, that they're covered, or that something happens inside that building or around that building, or because it's not secured, that any injuries are covered, because that's a responsible citizen. Also, keeping utilities on. There's a lot of issues with when you don't have the water, you don't have the power, you don't have the lights. It just, the problems multiply. There's problems with mold and fire protection and things like that. So we can require that. And what it does is it holds all business owners responsible, that they have a commitment. They're owning this property in the city of Globe, or the city of South Tucson, or the city of Cottonwood or Kingman, in hopes that they can, that building will grow value. Well, they need to hold their fair share, and so those costs need to be equal to that. And so to be held accountable for that makes it less likely that they will sit or leave the building inactive. If the price difference between an inactive building and an active building is grows, then they're more likely to say, well, let's put something in the building, let's do something in the building, or let's, move on and let somebody else that wants to make that building a active, thriving piece of the community. And so it helps bring that equity between the people who invest and love this town and are trying to make a go at it, and those buildings that are sitting there and not holding their weight, and those owners that are behind those. And so there's more to this, but it's important. There's a lot of momentum. This is something that the members of the legislature, they're big on private property and building owners, but I think they see the balance now, and we've been pushing on that to make that very clear. So I think it has good momentum, but you never know. So we're joining with the league and partnering, because we have those types of situations in our town, in the city of Globe. So one of the things that we were asked for by through the league by Representative Cook is to show our support through a letter from council. The timing was such that, you know, having Speaker Rusty Bowers here in person is a lot easier than mailing it and going through all the rigmarole, just handing it over. So that's why we went ahead and had the mayor sign the letter, and we're ratifying it here. But we wanted to make sure that everybody understood that this is not just the mayor, this is the council speaking with one voice, that the City of Globe City Council supports 2705. And Mr. Mayor, with that, I answer any questions.
Question? Comments? Go ahead.
I just have a comment. This is so imperative to our city and certainly our historic downtown, because we almost have more vacant buildings than occupied buildings. And that's just causing us such problems. So this is really, really important. And with that said, I move to go ahead and ratify this and waive the rules.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for ratification of the letter and waive the rules. Any further discussion?
Mr. Paul, you did say that the mayor's going down to testify?
So we've been asked from the league. The league asked us to supply an expert on some of the inherent dangers of having abandoned buildings stored with stuff.
Yeah.
And the liability, the fire issues, just the hazards, the additional hazards. And so we happen to have the mayor on our council who was when we had is it Old Dominion fire in 2005, which was just such a case. And so the league wanted to have someone who could have firsthand knowledge of how this can go horribly wrong. And so the mayor has been asked by the league to come down and testify. And they've given us a time limit of 2 minutes, but you know, so even if we double that, we'll be at 4. But I think the mayor and I are going to sit down and work out narrow down his experiences and testify along with a couple other mayors and I think Mayor Mila from Superior, the building official from Florence, and I think the former fire chief from the City of Globe will be there testifying. And I think it's going to be a good hearing, and I think we'll be able to make the case pretty clearly that this is important legislation. So, and any member of council, we're leaving out of here at 6:30 in the morning on Thursday. The hearing is at 9. This is not one of those times where I'm going to cut it slim. We got to get there early and make sure we get down there in time, beat the traffic. Any other council members want to come down and join and sit in the audience and support, you're welcome, and we can set you up.
And didn't TJ suggest that you bring pictures?
We have already supplied many pictures to them. I will communicate with the league and see if they have any blow-ups or anything like that. But I know that we did share a bunch of pictures. Mayor, I think you have some pictures you might want to share too. But
that'll give you more time too when you have to pass them out.
Yeah.
Make them ask questions. Okay, any other questions, comments?
That's all.
So I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Action items. Item A, consideration to possibly adopt the federal and state updates for the Globe Fire Department Policy Manual supported by Lexipol to resolution number 1806 and request to waive. We don't have to waive the rules. It's action, isn't it?
No, this is action, so no.
Yeah. Can you read resolution 1806, Shelley, please?
Working on the longer cable here.
Resolution number 1806, a resolution of the mayor and council of the City of Globe, Gila County, Arizona, approving a replacement policy manual for the City of Globe's fire department and replacing any previously adopted departmental rules and regulations. Is council pleased with the read?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, council members, as you recall, beginning of January, brought forward this item discussing the suggested policy manual that we adopt, that we've worked on in cooperation with Lexipol to update our policies to current standards and to work to maintain, to keep those standards. This item tonight, we brought forth a resolution that officially adopts that, that would officially adopt that that policy manual for our use, so we can roll that out to our people and begin to use that to govern and guide the operations of the fire department. I don't know if anybody has any further questions on that item.
Questions, comments? Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of item A. Any further discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next, we have discussion and consideration to approve Resolution 1802, thereby adding the civil restoration permit fees to the city fee schedule. Shelley, can you read Resolution 1802?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor? To avoid any conflict of interest on this, I'd like to recuse myself.
Freddie will be recusing himself on this item.
Mr. Mayor, resolution number 1802, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Globe, Arizona, adopting a 2020 revised general fee schedule for the city of Globe to include civil restoration permit fees. Is council pleased with that final reading?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, this is the final reading that revises the fee schedule to add those restoration permit fees. So once council approved, those fees will go into effect March 1st.
March 1st will be the date they go in? Okay.
Would you like a motion?
I would
So
like a
moved.
motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Item C, consideration and possible acceptance of the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality Brownsfield State's Response Grant of $9,430 to provide asbestos abatement to the Rogue Building, 359 South Broad Street. Adria.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council. I'm really nervous tonight. I don't know why. But first, I want to say thank you to Jeannie, who gave me a lot of support and help in organizing the background information that was in your packet. But for those that haven't reviewed it, way back in December of 2018, I had the opportunity to apply for a Brownsfield grant. A Brownsfield State Response Grant through the Department of Environmental Quality, ADEQ. And I came before the council to ask permission to apply for that grant, and it was granted. Permission was granted. And then in August of 2019, I was able to come before the council again and ask that funds that were awarded be accepted so that a survey could be performed on the Rogue Building to check for known contaminants such as asbestos, lead, and mold. And the council did approve to accept that. So the study was performed, and they did in fact find mold, asbestos, and lead. It was a triple whammy, which seems like a really bad thing, but in this case was a really good thing because it allowed me to go ahead and come before council again in December of 2019 to ask to apply for a second part of the grant to actually do the remediation to that Rogue Building. And so tonight I come before you requesting that the council give the approval to accept the award for that grant. It's in the amount of $9,430, and it would remediate the mold, asbestos, and lead in the Rogue Building.
It will cover everything they have to do to abate it, huh?
Yes,
That's
and
pretty
it's a non-matching grant. It's a non-matching grant, so it won't cost the city of Globe any funds.
Adria, I want to thank you for going out and getting this.
Yes,
Yeah.
well done.
That was awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
I would have thought it'd been, a lot more costlier with the abatement
Yeah.
regulations. That's good. Congratulations. So with that, Mr. Mayor, you need a motion?
Yes.
I make a motion that we accept the abatement grant for $9,430 as presented.
Second?
We have a motion and a second for acceptance of the grant. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you, Adria. So we go to late agenda items, and we do have one. It's consideration of an emergency declaration and possible award of contract number CS-2020-0005 with EarthQuest Plumbing Incorporated for emergency repairs to common sewer line issues awaiting the Haskins Sewer Common Line Replacement Project in the amount not to exceed $26,470, funded from account number 51-80-52203, wastewater expenditures, sewer common line replacement.
Mr. Mayor, as per our late agenda policy, this is something that we got direction to move forward with at the meeting. We went and started the process with the EarthQuest. In getting the contract straightened out and everything like that, we weren't sure that we could get this onto the agenda, but we're able to get it on Monday. And so we're just nip and tuck on the timing on this. But my first question is council willing to hear this item, this request?
Yes.
Okay, so good. And so then let me, no. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, the as you know, we're putting together, and we are working, and staff is working on a policy on money that we've put together and how to eliminate the common line problem within the city of Globe. As you know, the process is to take people who are on a string of sewer lines and have every home have its individual lateral connection to the sewer, and so they're responsible for their own flow and everything like that. We had an urgent issue going on, and let me get the name of the road right. And this is on, what was I kept saying? It's
Haskins.
Haskins. Okay, I kept screwing up the Haskins. And so we went and took it upon ourselves to go ahead and get EarthQuest involved in solving this problem. We have the budget. We had the authority. Tim Haas has put together a plan, and we have a contract that has been signed, and we're ready to go with this project. What we didn't do is, on a job of this size of 25,000 and over 25,000, by code we need 3 formal bids. One of the things that was able to happen was Tim Haas was already working with a number of these families, was very familiar with the situation, and we just thought it was advantageous to go with him on that. With the fact that it was an emergency and that we were bypassing that selection process is why, in working with our attorneys, we're declaring this an emergency and having the mayor sign off on that. It's not something we do lightly, but it was important that we act fast. Once we got Tim involved, then he took it upon himself as part of the contract to make sure that all those units were flowing and maintained, and there was no more solve the problem of raw sewage leaking through a couple different yards, and that's what was initiated right after that meeting. We will come back on the 25th with a final policy going forward, but this is just to tie up the loose ends because we'd had the discussion. The pricing, I think, is reasonable, but in the future we will do those. We will do the bids with local plumbers so that we have prices already in place, so we don't have this problem. And I'm going to look to Jerry and say, Jerry, did I miss anything on this? No, this is approval of an emergency declaration, which by the nature of emergency declaration, we're ratifying. It's kind of complicated, but if you go with a recommended motion, you'll be okay. Which is and you want me to read that, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah. So the recommended motion is motion to approve an award contract number CS 2020-0005 with EarthQuest Plumbing, Inc. for the Haskins Sewer Common Line Replacement Project in an amount not to exceed $26,470, funded from account number 51-80-52203, wastewater expenditure sewer common line replacement.
Motion made.
Second.
I do have a question.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Freddie?
Thank you. So, do the property owners understand that this is a repair that the city's going to take on? However, the ownership of the line still belongs to the property owners, and moving forward, it is the property owner's responsibility.
We do not have the documents that go with that, but we expressed that with Tim, and he is the one talking. I'm not sure that the property owners realize that who is paying the bill for Tim at this point. And this is what we will put together for this signature, but the project has not started. He's not done any work, and I will double check that Tim, and I think we probably should take that step to communicate with them some way that they realize we are paying for a private company to install their lateral, but that lateral will be their property and they will be responsible, and the city will be out of the loop on that. So I will follow up with Tim and make sure that with this particular job, that it's crystal clear to them, and it's a good point, that we will not come back and fix it. Not at this point, but he hasn't started the job yet. Right now he's maintaining.
Well, it just surprises me coming from Paul. He's the one that says if it's not in writing, it never happened. So
touche.
Yeah.
So it will be in writing, correct?
It will be in writing when we do that. Okay, and no, it's a very valid point, and no, you remember my words.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I just have one comment about
Sure.
this whole issue. What we need the public to understand is that we don't just willy-nilly go around and use city money to fix people's
Right.
sewer lines. There are a number, I've heard 40, I've heard as high as 60. Do we know what the real number is of homes that are on these common line? Is it between 40 and 60?
I would say in the 60 range.
60 range. So, 100 years ago, when people didn't do it correctly and have 80, okay. So, it's a problem now that these people buy these homes and they don't even understand. They don't know. I didn't ask at my house. I didn't say, is that my own sewer line, or am I connected to my neighbors up here? You don't think that way. You assume it is done correctly and it's city sewer, and so that's how it should be.
Well,
But it's just not fair to burden these property owners with trying to fix a 100-year-old problem that they didn't even know they had. And this council set money aside, and I believe will for the next 20 years. Is that not what we discussed?
That is the plan.
So there'll be no common lines, no common sewer lines. Each home will have its own lateral.
Well, and Mr. Mayor and Councilwoman Giles, let me just give a brief overview of the policy. The policy is strictly to install individual lateral lines. It's not to fix or maintain or correct common line issues. We eliminate the problem, we do it within code, and we hand back those lines. We are able to do this outside without a gift clause problem, because council is committing money to a classification, a grouping of individuals. We're not picking and choosing. You qualify if you're in our system and you are in a common line situation. We will eventually get to everyone to do that.
And we're starting on the list.
Right.
So we have everyone documented, and we can check them off as they're done.
Right, and the list is not first come, first served, but is a rubric on which ones are most critical, and I'll bring that back. And I didn't want to rush this. When we were working on this, we had a lot of questions. So we'll come back with that, how we manage that list, because there may be somebody that really wants to have this done and gets on the list, but there are other things may pop up where we have the same type of sewage going down the hill, and according to the rubric, those types of things are going to be a priority. And so we'll have a full presentation on the 25th on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Do we have a motion for approval of an emergency declaration?
I made the motion.
Second.
We did, huh? We did do a motion. We have it. Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Okay.
Council, thank you.
We have a call to the public. Okay. Scheduling of meetings. We're back on our regular schedule now?
Yep.
Okay. Future agenda items? Mike?
I'd like to bring Woody Klein in to go over the cemetery tour. He did a lot of photography and everything, so I talked to him already.
Okay.
I think we'll bring him in March.
Yeah, so he won't be available the 25th,
No.
but, okay.
So I'm assuming that, try to get him in before the end of March. Before clean up.
I think he's got drone footage.
He does.
Yeah,
They
that's
went
what
out
he
and
told
bought a
me.
drone.
Yeah.
They took before and after footage, so.
Well, good.
I have one, Mr. Mayor.
Jesse?
I know we discussed this in 2 SAP meetings, but I'd like to see it on the agenda, a rough outline of a business packet meeting and
Oh,
what
okay.
it would look like and a streamlined process for these businesses.
Okay.
And what permits that it would entail. For these
Okay.
businesses and where, based on where they're located.
Yeah, no, we have 2 things. We have the actual permitting process, and then the explanation and the description of the process and that packet that we can give the people so they can help navigate, and we can use that as an explanation tool. So yeah, we can, before we finalize that, let's definitely put that together, bring it forward. It'd be a good way to help start that education process. So we can do that. Now, I don't, like say, given the changes in the permits and the timing and everything like that, I can't tell you what date, but before we go live with it, or as we go live, we'll definitely bring it to council for review.
Thank you.
Okay.
Paul, I don't think it'll be the next meeting, but in the future also the historic preservation, we need to bring that in line also, making sure that numbers are right. I think the wording is proper in there, but we adopted, and the numbers are not correct as far as, our sign code is correct within the historic preservation, but other documents are not.
Okay.
So we'll need to review those.
Update of historic preservation code.
Yeah, I think it's the guidelines is what they call it.
Okay.
Yeah, guidelines. Any other items? We have motion to go in executive session.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion and a second to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Be adjourning. Thank you
Mr.
for
Mayor,
coming to our meeting.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just for the record, when we come back out, we'll come back out solely to adjourn. There'll be no other business conducted.